This week on the Media Boss Podcast.
Okay.
And they were having this huge transformation,
Uh-huh.
and they said our whole family is healing their ideas and their thoughts around money, and they just said, you're the money healer. It was like,
Media Boss Podcast is brought to you by two of our new partners. One is Pantheon. I can't wait to tell you about them later. And brought to you by Convert and Flow. You're going to learn so much about them. But now it's time for the Media Boss Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Media Boss Podcast. I'm Dr. Barrett Matthews, and one more time, you know what I'm going to say, right? That's right. I have a great show and an even greater guest that you're going to love, because I'm excited, and I hope you are too. I mean, I got Amanda Barrientez. She is here, and she's going to share with you. Who is she? Who's Amanda? Oh, God, you didn't know? She is the money healer. She's going to make sure that you guys can get buckets. That's right, buckets of money. She's an international best-selling author, and she is here to share with you today. She also is a podcast host, the woman entrepreneur. I mean, how simple is that? If you miss that name, you're not paying attention. So if you're a woman, you're an entrepreneur, check out her podcast, because she's right here right now on the Media Boss Podcast. And welcome Amanda to the Media Boss Podcast.
Dr. Barrett.
Just happy to have you here.
Psyched to be here.
I'm psyched to have you here. So, I mean, I don't even know where to begin, because you got my attention when you said money. And when they put in buckets, so that got my attention even more. But first, let's talk about you. How did you get to be the money healer?
Great question. Actually, it was after I was working with a group of people doing money stories.
Okay.
And they were having this huge transformation, and they said our whole family is healing their ideas and their thoughts around money, and they just said, you're the money healer. I was like, I love
I know, right?
I have used that one.
I know, like, it's stolen. I got the domain.
It's so great. And really, I love that sentiment, because it made me realize how we're all hurting in terms of money. And I can't say all, but
I know what you mean.
No matter who you are, how much money you make, we think about money all the time.
And a lot of us think about it differently.
Every day. Yes. Yeah. Some people fear it. Some people love it. Some people resent it. Some people infatuated with it. I mean, it's like we could say every single emotion under the sun. And so for me, it started for me, I was on food stamps and then built my business to 6 figures in its first year. And so I have like a deep relationship with money.
and I told you earlier before we were there, I said, that is a great book title.
Yeah.
Food stamps to 6 figures. You need to go ahead and secure that today.
Yes.
Because that's a great title for a book. You can just have your next one coming. And speaking of books, so you're an international bestseller.
Yes.
Let's talk.
It just happened, which was so exciting. And my reward to myself was to brand my company. Got a tattoo of my company, NFA Money. I don't know if I can say.
Yeah.
No fucking around money is the name of my company. So yeah, all things NFA. NFA is all about radical responsibility to create your reality and be magnetic, enjoy life, live in your zone of genius, and make money doing what you love. And so, my whole life really represents NFA Money.
So, okay, so let's talk about the book, because I really want to get into this for a second, because a lot of people, I always say everybody has a book in them. What made you pull this book out?
Yeah, I hear that all the time. People go, I've got a book in me, but I've had it in me for 6 years.
Right.
And I still haven't written
I
it.
have a story for you. Go on, tell this first.
Yeah, in 2022, I told all my people, I'm going to write a book this year. Here we are approaching October 15th. I still hadn't written it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do a 30-day book writing challenge. So November 30th, I wrote the book and published it on December 9th. Well, it actually was published on December 12th, but then I had the book launch party on the 9th.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I met a guy years ago, and he said, we need to work together. And I'm like, okay, why? He said, I've been working on this book on excuses for the last 4 years. I said, 4 years? Why does it take you 4 years to do it? And of course, he gave me excuses.
That is awesome.
Yes, I just thought that was so funny. Now, let's talk before I want to get into your podcast, but before we do, I want to talk money.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you've run into with people and their thought patterns when it comes to money?
I always say there are 3 main money blocks. So
Okay.
whenever I'd work with one-on-one clients and different types of entrepreneurs all over the world,
Mhm.
I had them write money stories and I kept seeing really similar patterns.
Mhm.
And so I came up with this profile and had thousands of people go through this quiz.
Okay.
It's called the Money Blocks Profile if anyone wants to take it. And it's about 2 minutes and it puts you into 3 categories
Mhm.
of the 3 main money blocks that I
Mhm.
keep seeing
Mhm.
over and over again. So it's money is bad, money is scarce, and money causes stress.
Yeah.
And so these happen when we're kids. So when we're ages 0 to 7, we're creating our subconscious belief system.
Uh-huh.
And our brain doesn't have at that age the filtration system and the executive functioning to go, oh, I don't want to believe that. I'm just going to believe this because this is better. Instead, it just absorbs every single thing that's going on around you.
Mhm.
So everything that you're watching on TV, everything your parents are telling you, what your preachers, the media,
Yeah.
teachers, everything you're seeing in your environment is going into your belief system.
Yeah.
And then you carry that through in your adult life. And so, money is bad could be something like your parents told you money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
Or you were told, it's better to love your family. I actually just had an interview with someone he was sharing one of his, and it was that his family would say to him, it's better to, money doesn't come before fame.
Mm-hmm.
So then as you're growing your wealth, you're going to have this fear that like, oh, I'm bad if I want to be wealthy.
Yeah.
Right. Because I should put my family first instead of thinking it's possible to have both.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's so good.
And then money is scarce. There's a lot of scarcity going on. This is a lot of black and white thinking, no matter what, there's never going to be enough. And so I don't make time for my health. Or, I can't have a successful business and have a great relationship. I struggled with this one. And then, if you believe that, you're going to be a person, no matter what amount of money you make, you're going to always save and save and save. You're going to have a hard time investing in yourself, investing in your business. You're going to be stressed out all the time about money. I see this all the time.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. And see, I know personally, every one of those things I was taught.
Yeah.
Every one of those.
Well, then the money causes stress. If you watched your parents, let's say, either fight about money or work really hard and either they made a lot of money or they didn't, your brain starts to believe money causes stress.
And I realized that it wasn't money, it's the lack of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's actually, it's one of those things that I had to get around different people who thought differently and spoke differently about money before I could change the way I thought about it.
Yeah.
And now some of those same people who taught me don't want to listen to me anymore. But it is. I mean, it was a growth I had to, because keep in mind, I didn't get that mindset overnight. It was ingrained in me. So I had to make sure I was drilling in some positive things about money. It's funny because I'm sure you run into this too. You mentioned earlier about like the way people are conditioned. I heard someone talk about how movies, the villain is always someone rich.
It is. Isn't that wild? If you look at it, like everyone listening, think about the last 5 movies you watched and see who is demonized.
Yeah.
Or who is the villain.
Yeah.
And so we see this message over and over again. Like, if you want money, you're greedy. If you get a lot of money, you had to be a crook to get
Right, exactly.
If it's more humble to be poor. Like, just all the things, like you're a bad, with women. I always think Overboard was one of my favorite.
Oh, God,
movies.
yeah.
Right. It's like she was just a rich bitch. And then she turned into a nice person after she lived with the poor family.
And for you younger people, look it up.
Yes. You're right. Actually, they did a remake of it recently.
Oh, God. I don't want to say remake.
I didn't have a watched it. Yeah.
I like Kurt and Goldie. So anyway,
me too.
But anyway. We're really dating ourselves, but it's funny because when you talk about the connotations around money, like even the adjectives, filthy rich, stinking rich, it's never anything positive about it.
Yeah,
and we put those on it. It's like even if someone is that we like, we're like, oh, they're stinking rich. No, they take that word off of it, because usually if they're that rich, they don't stink. But
well, and I think that's the thing. It's like there are really, really nice poor people. There are really, really nice rich people.
I agree.
And the other way around. It's that money is an amplifier of who you are. So I just like to remind people, if you're an awesome person who's doing great things in the world and you make more money, you're just going to do more awesomeness in the world.
I agree.
Right?
I totally agree.
It's not the money that's causing you to be a different person.
No, because if you were an evil person, you were already one.
Exactly.
You were already one, and money's not gonna change that, because and unfortunately, a lot of people, like say some of the lottery winners, they've gone broke. They were nice people to begin with. They just kept giving money away.
Yeah.
And they ended up going broke.
I like that you say that because it's about wealth consciousness. You know, if you don't raise your wealth consciousness, then you repel money away when you get a lot of it because you don't think you're worthy of it. You don't know how to budget or manage it.
Wow.
You know, so you end up repelling it and you cause these unconscious sabotage strategies.
That's exactly right.
That
You're
bring
right.
you back to a money set point that's comfortable.
Oh, wow. Wow, man. That was good. I hope y'all wrote that down. She just dropped a nugget there for you guys on that one. So I want to talk about your podcast,
Let's do it.
The Woman Entrepreneur. So when did you start it?
Wow, that's a long story.
Okay.
And I will say, it's the Woman Entrepreneur podcast.
The Woman
I'm
Entrepreneur
not even
podcast.
sure what comes up if you just put the Woman Entrepreneur in, but the Woman Entrepreneur podcast.
It's like this,
Yep.
the Media Boss podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, I started it right when I started my business. I started podcasting because podcasts were a huge part of my transformation when I was on food stamps. It was the way that I started to train my mindset in a new direction. So I love podcasting. I love podcasters. I'm like, yes, this is such a great service to the world. And so I was really inspired to start my own. And so when I started my business, I started mine and it was called Max Potential Habits because I was really into transformation and mindset. And I realized like, oh, your mindset is just a habit.
Yeah.
And so I started teaching about habits. And then I switched it to Max Potential Money because then I had named my business NFA Money.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, it needed to match that. And then I got a podcast coach and he was like, you're making it hard for people to find you.
That's never good.
And he said, you know, and so I came up with it. I'm like, well, you know, I work with women entrepreneurs. I work with both, actually.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I have a lot of guys that listen to the podcast. But I thought, you know, my mastermind is for women. And so I thought, let's just do it directed at women. And I came up with the name and I couldn't believe it was available. And I was like,
yeah, right.
I'm going all the way.
It's like,
yeah.
That's still here.
Yeah. And I think that's important for everyone is when thinking about branding, it's like, be specific and it just don't make it hard on yourself.
And you're right, because sometimes it's as simple as putting the word podcast on the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or entrepreneur.
Yes. Yeah.
You could say the inspired entrepreneur, the money-making entrepreneur.
That's true.
It's like
That's
it
true.
helps people know like, oh, I know when they're scrolling through the options, they're like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You know, it makes it easy.
It does. It really does. So in doing that, what kind of impact do you feel your podcast has had?
It's been amazing. I mean, it's been the number one moneymaker in my business. I definitely attribute it to that. Making connections with people. It's a top 5% global podcast. Nice. So really powerful.
Global podcast and an international best-selling author. I lucked out today, didn't I?
To me, that's amazing. Like I started my business from my home, not knowing anything about business. And I just had a huge heart for doing it. I was in a lot of fear, you know, on food stamps going like, I got to make my business fly. And I just went for it all the way. And I just went with what I knew to do next. And I always like to remind people, you don't need to know step A to Z. You just need to know step A to B. And for me, it was like, hey, do an episode, you know, start with one episode, see where it goes. And I was really consistent. And so, you know, I actually took a year off of podcasting and thought I was going to switch to just YouTube. And then I really missed podcasting. And I had my whole audience was like, what the hell are you doing? We miss your podcast.
Yeah. And see that.
So I came back.
And I always tell people, you don't know who's paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't know. And so when you have an audience, you have to pour into them.
Yeah.
Because just like when you started, when you said you were on food stamps, listening to podcasts, those people were pouring into you. They were helping you. Yeah. And you don't know who you're helping. So when you decide I'm going to stop, you don't know how that affects someone else who's listening to you. So it's very important that you do that. So I have to ask this. So do you, on your podcasts, when you started, because it sounds like you didn't, but I got to ask, did you have any apprehension when you started?
Yeah, that's such a great question because I feel like it's weird for me to say that I did it because like
it's not weird.
It's easy to be scared when you're doing a business and doing new things. Like it just was one of those things I wasn't scared of
because you said you wanted to podcast. So if you wanted to do it,
I had listened to so many, and I was like, and I didn't overcomplicate it either. I literally had my phone with like a little mic to my ear. And I recorded. It was simple. I didn't overdo it. I didn't overthink the
I'm so glad you said that.
I just did like a 1-day deep dive on YouTube University about podcasting, and then I went for it. You know, it was like,
I love it.
And I think that's why. And then I also had no expectations. Like I didn't think like, oh, this is going to go huge fast or anything. I just thought hey, this is a cool way to put content out there and share my heart and share what I'm learning.
I'm
And
so
I'll just
glad
see
you
where
did
it
that.
goes. And so I wasn't freaked out about it.
No, and that's good. I'm glad you said that because I always tell people, I get asked all the time about equipment. And people procrastinate on starting a
Oh my God,
podcast
so
because
much.
they give that excuse. Oh, I don't
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
just start.
Yeah. It's an avoidance strategy.
Yeah, it
It's a
is.
fear thing.
Just start.
Yeah.
You're not going to be perfect. I'm going to tell you
No.
that. I always say you have to be bad before you get good.
Totally. Well, and that's exactly right. And it's great to just get started because not that many people are going to be listening in the
You're
beginning
fine.
anyway.
And here's the thing. Some you may feel you messed up. They may not know it.
No, they don't know at all. And honestly, in the beginning, you're like so authentic because you don't know what you're doing now, and you're just like sharing from your heart. Yeah, I totally agree.
I always tell people like, because we were joking a while ago about my podcast. Someone said, "Well, I mean, we were saying Nate was saying to me, our producer, he said, let me get some water in case you cough." I'm like, hey, my audience like to hear me cough. I mean, and I say that because
Yeah.
I want them to know I'm human.
Yeah, totally.
I want them to know I'm human.
Yeah.
And so I tell people that when they're starting a podcast, just be yourself
Yeah,
because that's what they're buying. They're not buying some fake person because
right,
if you're perfect, they look at you or hear you and they go, well, I can't be perfect.
right.
So they don't relate to you. They want to be able to relate to you. And the one thing I like about you and your podcast and your book is that you're not only relatable, because like you said, you're telling your authentic truth. Like went from bootstrap to six figures. That's amazing. And that's a lot of people's story. And then you throw in the fact that you're podcasting and you're telling your story to them and letting them tell stories. I love that because it's authentic. People can relate to that easily.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's one of the greatest business building strategies because people can binge listen to you and they really get to know you. It's like, I think that's the number one thing I have people say to me. They're like, I found you through listening to your podcast.
Really?
Because they're just they're listening and they're listening and they're listening and they're like, oh, I know Amanda. They feel like they know me because I'm showing up every week. And that's important to be reliable. If you wanted to, have a great relationship with someone, you wouldn't show up like sometimes at this day and then maybe at this day and not for a month, like show up consistently and then your people will start to respond. I think entrepreneurs get freaked out about slow growth and they think no one's listening. And the truth is like, I would get one email every once in a while. It'd be like, you can see your download numbers and I'd have like 20 downloads and I'd be like, oh my God, there's a lot of work to 20 downloads.
Yeah.
But then I did that one email from someone that'd be like, this episode changed my life. It brightened my day. And I'm like, yes, game on. Let's keep going, And so just remember, like, you might be affecting one person. Does
That's
that
all
one
it
person
takes.
matter? Absolutely.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. It's do it with a purpose if you're going to podcast, and it's not. I mean, look, I know we're talking about money, but don't do your podcast to make money.
Yeah.
Do your podcast to serve and let it bring you money as long as it's bringing value to other people.
Right.
And
And that's the key. It will magnetize money because you're doing something that's coming from your heart. And that's, I help people scale businesses. So it's like, we're not talking, there's no strategy.
Right.
Yet you want your intention to be to bring value.
Yeah.
And that value then returns money.
Exactly. And you mentioned earlier about how some people repel money.
Yeah.
And you can also attract money.
Yeah.
So
Well, and the funny thing is when you go into it with the intention of it being for money, you repel the money.
repel it. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly.
And that's the whole, I see so many people, they tell me, I want to start a podcast. I want to know how to make money with it.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I wrote my first book, I met with a guy, publisher, and he said, so why do you want to write this book? I said, well, because I feel I have a message on this subject. I want to get it out to people. I think it can help some people. He said, good. I just wanted to make sure that you weren't saying that you want to make money because very few people make money on books.
Yeah.
So,
It's a great way for people to get to know you, share value, all those things.
yeah, and the same with their podcast. So, so Amanda, before we let you go, I want to make sure that you get to let our audience know any way they can support you, anything you have going on, anything that you want to have them support you on.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, definitely get my book, I Am a Money Magnet. So if they go to IamAMoneyMagnetBook.com, tons of resources there. The book comes with a course. So they get 30 videos delivered to, if they come, you have to come to my website. It's interesting when you sell on Amazon, I'm like, I can't be connected to you. So make sure if you buy the book, go to IamAMoneyMagnetBook.com and you'll see the option for the course. It's in the book as well.
Okay.
Incredible questions, over 100 journaling questions to help you identify your unconscious money beliefs.
Whoa.
So like really powerful guide to help you break through the blocks that are keeping you stuck. All things NFA Money. So my website is nfamoney.com. And then all my handles are NFA Money. I have a YouTube channel and, of course, the Women Entrepreneur podcast. And for the ladies out there, I've got an NFA Money Mama Mastermind. It's your place to be.
Okay,
if you want to hang out with me and make a ton of money. And then I do speaking and one-on-one coaching and all those things too for the guys out there.
Fantastic. Amanda, thank you for joining us here on the Media Boss Podcast. Appreciate that. Amanda Barrientez, everybody. We'll be back with more of the Media Boss Podcast.
Hey, everybody. The Media Boss Podcast has been brought to you by our partners, Pantheon and Convert and Flow. Make sure you get with us so you can find out more about how you can help your business run smoothly with Pantheon and Convert and Flow.